All right, and we we
We
are
are live.
recording. Welcome to episode 19 or 18, I think, or something, of the Bolo Pascual show. This one's gonna be a bit different because this is gonna be like Inuman podcast. I am drinking um
Yeah.
my rum with Coke. And how about you, just Neil? What are you drinking?
Neil. Yeah, I've got on one hand I've got the Suntory Horoyoi Peach, which is basically an alpha mix. On the other, I've got soju, like soju to drink straight up later on in the show. But right now to just chill in, it's yeah Coke and soju. So
Awesome.
yeah,
So let's
so
get this started by like cheersing. Come on, let's drink first.
yeah, cheers.
All right. So I would just like to introduce Neil. When I was a teenager, he's my friend. We used to
Oh
do
my,
theater together, and
God.
Neil,
That's a long.
cosplay enthusiast. I think he is one of the experts that I know when it comes to the Star Wars fandom. I think it's
Shit.
explanatory when you take a look at his background. I bet there's a shit ton of collectible items that is worth like a lot. And
No, no, no.
one fun fact, one fun fact. Neil is the reason why I still have this guitar because a story back then,
Really?
yeah, a story back then is that I took a cab home late at night, and to make sure that I was gonna be safe, Neil bothered to take a picture of the plate number of the taxi that I rode. And then when I told my friends that I left my guitar in that taxi, Neil was like, "Wait a minute! I took a picture of your taxi of the plate number,
Oh
and
shit! I remember that. I remember
that
that. Yeah,
is
yeah.
because I gotta track it down
This is
because
Katunan, right? Yeah.
you cared about my safety, and now like this guitar is still with me is because of Neil. So just wanted to let my viewers know that you are an amazing human being and an caring
Wow.
friend, such that I still have my guitar with me. I gotta track it down because of you. And would you like to introduce yourself further? How are you?
Sorry.
Would you like to introduce yourself further?
Oh yeah. Hi, hello. I am Neil, occasional writer, theatre actor, and yeah, and what have you? I've done what I have to say. It's like a CV, right? I post everything that I've done. Aside from the Star Wars thing that Bolas probably mentioned, I work for the big boss in Disneyland. I work for Mickey. So Mickey signed my paycheck when Disneyland was still open and what have you. So there was that going on. What else? And while and I'm also a massive fan of Bolo ever since back then when we were hanging out in trumpets. He's an amazing singer. And by the way, I just want to say I'm so happy and proud that you're using social media, the various networks and social media that you have for Instagram stories and for TikTok to inform people about the issues that's going on today, to just to just expand your mind and just brainbox it with various different ideas with different people. It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely beautiful. And thank you for having me because I've always admired you from afar, and it's been ages since we last talked. But always in the background, I always thought like, shit, Paul's is doing an amazing thing. He's learning Chinese. He writes a lot better than I do, by the way. And I'm living in Hong Kong, and I've got a background in living in China for 2 years, and still he writes better than me. That
Oh,
says um, tremendously about his discipline because I don't have any. When it comes to writing, no, you have me write all those 3,000 letters. I would not. Like I can recognize the war, I can recognize the discounts and what have you, like survival stuff. But if you ask me to write it down, I'm like, well, 我听不懂，我看不懂.
thank you so much for the kind feedback, Neil. Thank you so much. And I really see that you're observing and you're still the same, you know what I mean? And I just want to give like some background to the viewers because you look Filipino,
Yes.
live in Hong Kong, in Shangang, and you have this Western accent. can you give us a background? Like how are you like a how do you represent like a melting pot of cultures within yourself?
I do the Clip Notes version. I was like an army thing going on because my mom was a flight attendant. So going around places, my English was definitely affected by the places that I've been and the places that I've lived in. So this mishmash of whatever this is, as a result of all of that, and yeah,
I see. One thing
because
interesting about this
because
episode.
you
Oh,
remember the Cliff Notes, man. You remember like the story is long. You know how this is, but yeah, that's
mhm.
that's a cliff.
One thing interesting about this episode is that this is gonna be the first episode where we don't have an outline, and we're just really just gonna get drunk and have a conversation. And how are you doing? Like, I just wanna give me a life update, Neil. It's just especially for our friends who are commenting.
Oh,
So you work for Disney.
uh,
That's awesome. Um,
right now, no. Right now, that's a no because
mm,
because COVID pretty much. If there's any industry that was massively affected by COVID, it's the entertainment industry, from events to theaters to theme parks, even everything. And I think of the biggest top 500, top 100, top 10 companies in the world right now, the one company that's been massively affected by this greatly would definitely be Disney because Disney owns ESPN, and there aren't a lot of sports games running right now. Theme parks, on the other hand, Disneyland is a massive source of income, and right now, all of the parks are closed. The movies, like the films like Mulan and Black Widow, the two massive that would have been a massive summer hits. Black Widow has been pushed continuously over and over again, and then you've got Mulan, which has a lot of baggage tied to it. But Mulan is now going to be streaming on Disney Plus.
mm,
Uh, by the way, Disney doesn't pay me out of the pocket to advertise it, but it's an absolutely wonderful subscription service. The Mandalorian's great. High School Musical, the musical is great.
Hamilton.
And Jeff Goldblum's and Hamilton is amazing on it. So amazing content. So if you want to go beyond your usual Netflix and chill, you've got Disney Plus to
Mhm.
check out and what have you.
And now that like
So yeah,
got affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, what's keeping you busy now?
um, a bit of voice. So what's been keeping me busy is a bit of voice acting, and then what's just been keeping me my head afloat above the water to just not go crazy over this time would be funnily enough Dungeons and Dragons, like role playing, like with friends on Saturday nights. That we just chill out with a couple of friends who are voice actors and cosplayers, and over the weekend we just play D&D just so we have this creative outlet that we can just continue performing amongst ourselves, but at the same time, it it lets us be lost in a different world, and from my end, it's just a way for me to just flex on. It's just a frustrated voice actor face where I can't voice all these other characters when I'm in Disney, so I'm just gonna put it all there. Like it's not in the script. Like Disney's like, oh, hello there, how are you? But you can't just go, hello there, welcome to. No, we can't do those things. So it's like, okay, this is where it's like frustrated actor feels where you like, I can't do the theatre. I have to follow this. So what do I do? I make my own thing, and there we go. And then I've been sort of thinking of setting up a live streaming stream, like gaming or what
Hmm.
have you, because I'm a massive gamer. About that. So
What are you streaming
that's gonna
now?
happen. I don't know.
Are you on
No,
Twitch?
I
Do you
haven't
plug your
started.
account on Twitch?
No, I haven't started yet. But do look out for Neil Just Plays on Twitch soon. It'll be up. I don't know. Hopefully within a month or so.
And
Because
what games are you playing?
right now, definitely the one that's going to be constantly in the roster will be Overwatch. I'm going
Hmm.
to be playing Overwatch on the Nintendo Switch. For RPGs, I'm thinking of going back into the old Bioware catalog of games because I've got an Xbox One, and through the Xbox I get to play the old Dragon Age, the old Mass Effects, and then on PlayStation I'm probably just going to do a current run through of Ghost of Tsushima, while at the same time maybe replay for some of my older backlog games because I don't know if you've seen, but I've got backlog of PS4 titles right here. And
Mm.
just about a week ago, all my hard drive crashed. So all of my saves for the past 2 years, because I've had this thing for 5 years.
I'm
So
so sorry to
everything
hear
that I
that.
played, eh, so everything 3 years before everything before 2018 was saved. Everything after 2018, all the saves were wiped.
Oh.
So even though I finished the game, no, but it's a good opportunity to start the stream all over again because I
Mhm.
get to replay. I mean, my backlog just got a lot thicker, but what's nice is that I get to replay the games all over again, even though I've got the trophies. I'm like, but it's that thing, and like I need to have the finished save file. It's that compulsion. Like I need to say, I've done the game. I can do the new game plus what have you. So it's like a way to get back to replay the game so that
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Neil, I know it's
Sorry if I
Monday,
gap.
and it's also because I'm drunk. But
Yes,
nakakaintindi ka pa ba ng Tagalog at nakakasalita ka pa ba ng Tagalog?
nakakasalita, nakakaintindi, at kaya ko pa rin sabihin na nakakapagpabagabag.
Oh,
We had
shit! Shit!
marami
Okay,
tayong problema. I
how
mean,
many languages can you speak now?
oh shit. Um, right now, well, definitely English, Spanish, a bit of then definitely a bit definitely Mandarin, a bit of Cantonese. Um, I understand more Japanese than I can speak it, and right now, funnily enough, over the past few weeks, I have been consuming, and it was originally guilty pleasure, but I just threw myself to the deep end. I'm fully study. I want to properly study Korean. I just got
Mm.
into the whole K-wave thing. It's over the past few years, I've had this notion, and I'm so sorry to all Korean friends of yours who are watching the stream, or your viewers who are watching the stream. But I always thought that that Japanese culture like J-pop and J-rock and what have you, like I thought Korean culture was sort of a rip-off of Japanese culture because you've got the
Mm-hmm.
technology side of things, what have you. Got them going, oh Neo! Like they've got like this cutesy thing going on that they're trying to rip off. But you look into the culture and it is absolutely mind blowing. Like
Mm.
the depths and just how different cultures Korea has is because I usually had the Korean stereotypes. Like it's all about aesthetics. It's all about like plastic
Mm-hmm.
like the standards are so different from the rest of the world and everything. Like, but if you look at the culture, like if you look at the language, if you look at the culture, it is so much different. I mean, you see some similarities because they're East Asia generally has
Yeah,
similarities
Northeast
across one another.
Asia.
Yeah, they come from more or less the same roots ish, if you look at it genealogy wise. But the way that the cultures diverge is completely different. And I'm so sorry, but I'm so happy that I have been properly informed now on
Mm.
just how wonderful culture is and just how fantastic the culture is. And it is absolutely fantastic. It has been great. The language isn't easy. But I'm loving the whole thing. I am just completely throwing myself to the deep end. Wherein I once thought that it's not my thing. Now it's just like when you were young, you never like when I was young, I never liked wine
Mm.
because it tastes like it's weird. That's why I always like hard alcohol more. I like because that's what I started. I started with scotch. I started with whiskey. Like you get those down into you. Wine is gonna taste like. Are you supposed to get drunk on this? No, it tastes weird, but then as you grow older, your palates change, and you're like, why? So fast, ah! That sort of thing. Like your palates change. Like it's it's weird growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We're growing.
K-pop right now is such a juggernaut of an industry. Like
Is
BTS alone is bringing in billions to Korea, and yeah, I think it's a trend between it's a trend with people our age, like millennial men, who are so
Mhm.
into Twice and Blackpink and like NCT and BTS, all that stuff. And my question to you regarding K-pop: would the
Mhm.
15-year-old Neil judge the Neil right now for liking K-pop?
No, I think he'd be grateful that I think 50-year-old he'd be grateful that Neil opened himself to that avenue, wherein his world is a lot more richer because of what he knows now. the nuances of K-pop, about the nuances of the culture, and what have you. Like it just changes about everything, and it also changed the way that he sees art. Because if you look at Korean productions, it's like a lot of like Hollywood MTVs, while they're great on their own, a lot of them are CGI and what have you. In Korea, it's all budget. Yeah, we're gonna do actual sets. We're gonna shoot in live locations and what have you, and we're gonna shoot it beautifully in like cinematographers are fantastic. Even and I think our even Philippine noontime shows, which are actually shit by the way, they could learn a thing or two with how Koreans film actual performances. Like you compare like how ASAP or SOP does their crap compared to like Koreans like do comebacks and shoot these the shoot like actual choreography with the performance thing and what have you. It is a whole world away. It's much more kinetic. It's much more focused on the artist and their art. It is absolutely incredible. And I'm just like, holy, this is changing the way I see how these things should be shot and how these things are showcased in general.
Would I be correct if I say that K-pop is like Lady Gaga on steroids, based on the colors, based on the different experimentations?
No, no, I'd say where Lady Gaga just goes on the deep end when it comes to just be eccentric in a way, what have you. In K-pop, there's a through line arc, there's a through line story through everything that they do. Do you know what I mean? Like you see how they shoot it, and you're like, I get the message. I get what they're going for. I get that they're going for girl crush. I get that they're going for a mature thing. I get that they're going for a teensy thing. It's just that it's straight on to the point. It's straight on to the point. It's lavish and luxurious and everything, but you still get the heart of what they're singing about. Still get the heart of what they're doing.
Mhm.
And by the way, it's
Mhm.
it's incredibly different. Like how Blackpink and Twice or Somi or ITZY, that these groups would be shot, compared to like say GOT7 to say Super Junior, to, like how the male groups would be shot. The male groups are all there's a lot more hip hop influences more with the male groups and what have you. There's a lot more angas and all that stuff
Mhm.
going on. Because males in general, we've got there's that we
Well,
have to make the statement. We have to have that unfeel at the same time. Tangina pogi namin. Like women like that. It's like men. It's like women want to be with me, and men just want to be like, you've got that coolness. They've got that coolness factor that I don't think a lot of other Western performers would have actually.
let's talk about the male K-pop artists, because one thing that I've been observing is that
Mhm.
many of them look so androgynous, right?
Yeah,
I understand there's still like the angas moves, but at the same
yeah.
time, their face, their makeup, their clothes are like masculine and effeminate at the same time. And my
Mhm.
curiosity is like, what draws the audience towards that type of aesthetic now in 2020?
Personally, I don't think I'm the right person to talk about this. I because for me, I don't see. I mean, I don't look into that aspect of it. Like, I don't see it that way. I don't see them as androgynous. I just see these people who are incredibly talented, expressing themselves as they are. I don't look much into like, oh, this is. I don't look. Oh, he's being androgynous on purpose or nothing like that. I don't get the. I don't get that. It's more of because it's part of their culture. It's part of their culture
Mm,
to have like a small face, it's attractive, and small doesn't mean like it's a small face, but like it's proportions and what have you, and then lighter skin color. I'm not an expert because I've just started into it, but for me, it's how it would appeal to people. I guess it might also be because of gender politics these days. I think some of the West's gender politics would be like, oh, some of them can identify themselves. Oh, like some people who identify, some women who identify themselves as male will be like, that's the image that I want to project.
mm,
That's the person. That's the kind
makes
of
sense.
guy I want. So on that end, I think Western gender politics are sort of projecting themselves into their ideal look, and this would be their ideal look. Like that's the most that I can like think of about it. I mean, because I'm not part of that movement necessarily, because I don't I empathize with him, but I don't like. But I'm not the right person to ask. Like, why do they empathize with these men? Why do they absolutely admire these men? What are I just get that entire. Oh, I can see why women dig these. I can see why men also dig just how they look and just how they dress and just how how just amazing these guys match the tracksuits with the shoes and just about everything that they've got going on. That side I can totally get. But like the other side of the spectrum on why they would see themselves in their shoes. I don't want to sort of generalize as because
Mhm.
everyone
Mhm.
interprets
Got it.
it.
Have you ever started developing, well, a favorite K-pop group? Like, do you have a favorite K-pop group? And have you ever started developing what they call a bias?
There
Do you
are
have a bias?
yeah, so
Who's your
I do. I
favorite?
do have of all the K-pop artists out there.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's gonna be hilarious, but I like JYP a lot. I don't know if you know. Do you know JYP? Basically, he's the guy who started the JYP Entertainment Company. Well, I don't think he started it. I don't know much of the history. But JYP is pretty much the guy who he's sort of was the guy who brought Wonder Girls to the picture. You know, Wonder Girls like nobody, nobody, like back then. That was him, and so pretty much he's put K-pop into the forefront so much. He's nearing 50, but even though he's like the CEO and no, he's not the CEO now, but more like he still has a massive share of things. But at the same time, he is an artist. He is equally an artist, and he's been putting out number one songs for the past 20, 25 years of his career. And
Wow.
at the same time, so he's ushering all these girl groups, all these boy groups into the picture. He's ushering all these, but at the same time, he's so chill with them. He's like sometimes they don't use formalities with him. Like usually people hear YGPD or something. So they always have like he's the producer of the company. Like there's always those honorifics. His team, but people in his company openly like troll him or like sort of they're very casual with him. But at the same time, for him to be, I admire just how, even though he's nearing his 50s, he still looks great. His singing is still fantastic. Um, and he's absolutely relevant in K-pop culture as it is right now. Like, and there's always this little joke in all of JYP Entertainment produced MVs. There's always like JYP. The same way that there's like results. It's like saying, "Still my group. This is still my thing." And then there's this funny thing where his girl group releases a song 2 weeks before, and it's like number one. Then he releases his song, and suddenly his girl group is like number two, and he's like number one. And
Oh,
people always
wow.
ask him, like, how do you feel? How do you feel about about being number one, even though the girl group that you're supposed to be pushing onto the map is like, how do you feel about it? And he's like, on both ends. On the one hand, he's like, I feel sad because these girls are type of shame, but at the same time, he's like number one. Come on, I gotta be a low key flex. But he's an artist, and that's why I really admire him.
Mhm.
But his yeah, so not too. Plus, I don't want to bring up any fights over like, oh, Blackpink is best, oh, Twice is best, or something. It's like no, I stand JYP. Does he? Because if you look at his songs,
Is he
it's
part of
very
SM Entertainment? Like what I've been
no,
hearing
no,
from my cousins.
he has his own entertainment. He
Oh,
has
so
his own.
is he competing against like that juggernaut of a brand?
There's the big three. There's YG, there's SM, and then there's JYP Entertainment. JYP is so basically he's one of the only producers who's been actually performing it back then. By the way, JYP, unlike most Korean singers, he's not much of a looker. Like the way that he got into the industry to begin with was a bloody fluke. Like he auditioned for SM, he auditioned for YG. It didn't take him, even though he's an incredible performer, because
And
he
then he
didn't
was
just
just
have
like, fuck it, I'll start my own thing.
no. What he did was it was funny. Like he didn't start his own thing from the very get go. What happened was that there was a commercial where there was this hot Korean star was doing like this bubblegum commercial or drink commercial or whatever. Then he was singing the song, and then the noontime show hosts were like, oh, let's invite the guy to sing. Let's invite the model to sing the song because he looks great. The commercial was such a hit. But then lo and behold, when the curtains opened, it was this guy who had like like floppy like his flat 80s hair and parang si trunks, and then he looked like a mess. But he started to sing and doing his dance moves, and people were like, "Holy shit, this guy's amazing!" And then from there on, he grew bigger, and then down the line he got his own entertainment company, and then eventually he started to grow. He was the guy who brought Rain. He made Rain famous. He made
Mhm.
Rain famous. He made Wonder Girls famous. He's so entrenched into Korean K-pop culture, into making it big as it is today. And even unto this day, he's still performing because his goal is like he wants to continue dancing. He dances well, by the way. He wants to
Is he like the
continue
Michael
dancing.
Jackson of Northeast Asia, but better?
More like there's always a joke that he's like Leonardo DiCaprio, but for our viewers' perspective, for the Filipino audience, I think he's more along the lines of Gary Valenciano.
Okay, I see. Hmm.
It's not like Mr. Pure Energy, but more like he's on the same caliber of he still dances well, he still sings well at that point, and he's still producing hits
Right.
until now because and what have you, and he's absolutely incredible. Bit of a perfectionist, which is, but he's absolutely incredible. He's an inspiration, and that's why I stand. Yeah, there you go. I stand J Lloyd.
I'm gonna look him up. I'm gonna look him up. I think he is the most popular person that I don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah. Um.
he's incredible, man. And unlike YG or SM, who's got like scandals to their name, I mean, when you're a producer that big in business, I mean, you're bound to have like that sounds out on you. JYP is more or less stayed clean throughout his career. He hasn't done anything rash. He hasn't done anything massively political. People just like him. Also, people can freely joke about him, like about the entire. Oh yes, it's entire JYP. Oh, JYP likes to flex on his girl groups every now and then. And that's just him saying, I'm past my heyday, but I'm still doing this. I'm still topping you guys. So I think there's a competitive standard at the same time because he's also an artist. He's like, I get that. I get that thing about him. Where it's like some people are saying, oh no, he should go by the wayside already because his time is over. But JWeb is
Mhm.
like, no, I can still do it. I'll still do it. And if I'm better than the girl groups, well, they should do better. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
So he's
That's
like an
his
older brother figure to many.
yeah. And
Reachable.
people and people just like how some of the people that he's managing are like they openly give him attitude or something like it's hilarious. They what do you call they burn him on the spot and just takes it aside.
I see. One
And
question, I just want to know your opinion about it, is that do you think that the Philippine music industry ought to mimic what K-pop is doing, or should we continue try to reinforce what we're already doing? So like, um, should we be more trying to be like BTS and create like BTS groups, or should we prioritize like should the industry prioritize highlighting like Ben and Ben? Shout out to Andrew Depano. But yeah, because I heard before that there's K-pop artists that have been
yeah
listening to Ben and Ben and like recommending Ben and Ben and these like other platforms. Have you heard about that?
yeah and they've actually some of them might have actually covered it, which is absolutely fantastic. But at the
Cool.
same time, while K-pop is its own thing because it's tied to the culture, it's tied to the aesthetic, it's tied to how Korea is like it's a first world country with all these things going on to them, and that sticks quite well to them. I think what separates OPM on original Filipino music in general is that while we do have our Western influences every now and then, I think the thing that makes it separate is that it's the language. There's heart in the language. Yung
Mhm.
ramdam na ramdam mo especially in Filipino music. I mean, original Filipino music in English is absolutely fantastic. But iba pa rin yung when you hear Ebe Dancel and yung
Mm.
Nakambiko. So when you get that feeling, it's like you get the feels.
Right,
Yung
right, right.
I mean, even though it's a hip hop song, even though there's this term that I like to use, hugot. It's not like hugot because of relations, but it's like it hits closer to home. And I
Mm.
think what the Philippine entertainment industry should do is they should focus more on that as more on that. I think because I think anyone who listens to it moved by it. They are incredibly moved by it in many different ways. Yung tatas ng balahibo mo,
Mm.
yung parang the moment like shit, this is in the right spot. That's why until now people still sing Ihes, people still saying Parokya ni Edgar, people still saying what's that song? And take one step away and I'm falling back. Like those songs back in our high school and what have you.
Mm-hmm,
Those songs still resonate to people today, even though these millennials haven't heard of it. They listen to it and it's like, shit, okay,
mm-hmm.
that whole thing's going on. So I think we should stick to our own lane because our own lane's fantastic on its own already. We just need more exposure and more support for it rather than your typical noontime reshuffles and some artists and the artistas who think they can sing but they don't really sing, that sort of thing. We've had these conversations before, I remember. So it's more on uh, ang hirap kasi sa atin eh. Ang hirap sa atin because there's so many talented people. There's so many talented musicians. They just don't have the right platform or the right place to just for people to see and hear just how amazing they are. Really,
Yeah.
because because sadly politics affects just about everything, and that includes the music industry and what have you. And there's this whole issue recently with Manny's son, Michael Pacquiao or something.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Absolutely,
in the previous podcast, like I recorded earlier, we talked about Michael Pacquiao's
kids,
what do
kids
you,
got bars.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Where do you stand within the woke Twitter's issue about it?
Kids got bars. Kids got talent. That much I would say.
He
Like
does.
he's fantastic. But on the other end of the spectrum, it the issue that woke Twitter has brought up, which is like how privilege sort of overrides a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation that is needed to be talked about today because the standards of how the industry brings in artists should be rejudged on a different scale. It should be changed just a bit. It should be more opening. It should be more welcoming. It's not like sino tatay mo, sino kilala mo, sino
Mm-hmm.
nag-star magic or something. It's more of like this kid's got talent. Let's give him a shot.
Got it.
Let's give them a thing, or let's give them a stage for them to perform, and let's see how the audience grows and what have you. You know,
Mm. I want to share my
like
take
how,
on it.
yeah,
My take on it is I just kind of feel that it's an unfair comparison when we compare like a kid that has a famous father versus an artist that doesn't have a famous father. I just feel like that's an unfair comparison because like yeah, Michael Pacquiao didn't choose to have Manny Pacquiao as his father, you know what I mean? And I just feel like Michael Pacquiao is being like judged by saying, or there's a illegal drugs reference with it.
yeah,
But I'm just like my thoughts is that the opinion of the son, which is like he is educated in the most expensive international school in the Philippines, which is like I think it's Brent International School. So obviously,
yeah,
like, he could be influenced by Western culture. You know, like all of his classmates like are sons of ambassadors and like tech moguls and all that stuff. So of course he would develop that type of culture, and it's like his opinion like is way different from his father's about like the death penalty regarding drug addicts and all that stuff. So I just feel that it's kind of unfair to put it on the kid based on opinions of his father. But secondly, the fairer comparison is, I think, is number one. I think the main discussion ought to be fair to Michael Pacquiao for me, is to talk about the song first rather than the amount of views that he gets. I think that's a healthy starting point.
diba? It's a talent. At the end of the day, I mean, I get the entire discussion on he's a rich kid, he's a rich person. That's why he got the platform that where he is already. But let's not take away the fact that his songs are good. He has talent. Because I think some people are also projecting like, bakit yung artista na to wala siyang talent, pero siya yung nasa ganito ganyan. I mean,
Mm.
whole different thing, whole different discussion.
Like James Reed
But
and shit.
so yeah. So that sort of thing. Sorry, Justin Valiente. It's just we love you, Justin. You're amazing.
Sorry, Justin.
Yeah. By the way, Proud Company is fantastic. By the way, they shoot well. Everything that they do is fantastic on their end. But I totally get what you mean. So at the same time, I think this is also part of the Filipino culture. Din kasi it's that I don't want to say it's an inget culture, but more of like you know how there's a vicious cycle of parang putting people down in our society. Those who are already put down, then they find any edge to put down other people. The moment they say, "Oy, problema," parang they see one flaw and then they're gonna blow it out of proportion. In the same way, how I believe that this is why the DDS have been so stuck up on Digo. Have been stuck up on our very wise and very intelligent and very very great very great president. You know, they, they've had issues in the past. They were they were fucked up by all these people that they are currently opposing. That they take the extreme side of things because it's on one end it's a point of pride because it's like ito ginawa nyo sa amin eh. Even though we didn't do anything, ito ginawa nyo sa amin. So they're gonna take that fence and they're gonna dig it into that fence. And it's that and parang ay may ginawa na naman kayo. Hindi. Itong ginawa nyo eh. Ito, that whole thing. And then they're gonna use that to bring you down even further. But it's like I think impartiality and appreciating things for just as they are is lost on people. That we stick to our own bias and we stick to our own judgments. And it's like and I think the same is applied to unfortunately to Manny's son, to Michael Pacquiao, who is absolutely wonderful, absolutely talented, and should be judged on different criteria because kid's got talent. It's given that stage because he deserves that stage. But at the same time, it's the discussion that it has brought up. We should it's like playing chess, but we should change the chessboard. This is not the chessboard we should be playing on. We should be playing on this is the unfairness of how the industry is and just how the unfairness for the industry has led to this conversation. Has led to like say artists who aren't justified in being on the platforms that they are get to be on the platforms that they are, and people who deserve to be on the platforms that they are should be
I think the fair comparison is not like a kid who is rising with a rich father versus someone who doesn't have a rich father. I think the fair comparison is like a kid with a famous father and a kid with a famous father. I think that's a fair comparison. So like, for example, rappers like Elmo Magalona, which is like the son of the Philippine rap god, rap king, Francis Magalona. And I think it's a fair comparison if you compare like Elmo and Michael Pacquiao because they both are in positions of privilege and their fathers are both like famous and cultural icons. And I just think that's a fair comparison. Or for example, Michael Pacquiao being compared to the daughter of Jim Carrey, which is also like trying to be pursuing music as a career, all that stuff. That's just where I stand. I just think if we were to compare people, it has to be in the same I don't know, the same category.
The same category, and our biases towards one's parents should be playing into the consideration because I know Pacquiao. A lot of people have grievances against Pacquiao. I personally have grievances against Pacquiao, but I'm not going to take away his son's opportunity from him just because I think Pacquiao's an idiot. I mean, Pacquiao's brilliant in many different ways. He's just an idiot on a lot of things that involve Philippine society in general.
Pacquiao the legislator sucks. I think Pacquiao the boxer and Pacquiao the brand.
Pacquiao the athlete, I absolutely admire. I will not take that away from him. But Pacquiao as a religious figurehead, as a politician, or even would be that's a big that I take a lot of issue with that.
Yeah,
I think that's what people need to relearn these days because what they see one thing it clouds just about everything.
Right.
And yeah,
similar to like just because one person is a great mayor doesn't mean that person would be a great president.
Yeah. Like as a whole, I still think Pacquiao's terrible, but I will not take away his but him as an athlete, I will take away from in the same way that this is gonna be controversial, but in the same way that on one hand people can see Hitler brought Germany out of its crappy confines back in the olden days, but at the same time you still think he's a fucking terrible human being who deserves to be in the ninth circle because of the shit that he pulled off.
Right.
Or in the same way that you can be like, you can admire Marcus for defending himself in that court trial that he had back in the old days. You can admire that. guy didn't study law, won his case. You get murder. But on the same token, he fucked up our country in many more ways that exists until today. So it's like he's a genius, sure, but he's a crooked genius and a fucked up genius. So nah,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Neil,
In the same way,
you were a debater back then, right?
I was a. I wouldn't say I'm a master debater, but yes, I dipped my toes in it. Yeah.
And my question is, what do you think would lead to people having fairer and more balanced perspectives? Like, what is the step to the right direction in terms of people getting fair, like having fairer and more balanced perspectives? What do you think should we do as a society?
I think we should listen. I think at the end of the day, it's up to listening and respecting one each other's opinions. Like even on the other side won't listen to us, the fact that we are willing to listen, not necessarily talk to them, but just listen to their side of the argument, so that we can address the issues on their side of the argument, and just to see how we can bring that to them. I think at the end of the day, it's down to respect, and because that's how. This is why Japan or Korea has risen to where it is today. Because at the end of the day, the culture is based on respect. The language alone is based on respect. The honorifics of have you. It's built into lengguahe natin yung po at opo. It's just turned to a toxic point where you have. But I think that like I love our language because of just how unique and just how wonderfully close to emotions it is. But at the same time, it has been turned. But at the same time, so I think we should go back to that. I think it's to the
You know,
same time,
one observation I have.
we shouldn't weaponize po and opo, which is like, because some people say, oh, mas nakakatanda ako sa'yo, kailangan mo ito, kailangan sundin mo ako. We should take that thing aside, but it's more of, sige po, anong gusto niyo sabihin? Tama po kayo. Pero, so that whole thing, that whole respect thing, I think.
Like
I think
make
that's how
people more like at ease and willing to engage in civil discussions. Got it. That's a nice insight.
because at the end of the day, that's how. This is why I love taking taxi rides, tricycle rides. This is why I commute, especially sa Manila. Like rather than take an Uber, who I can like jam the driver with, jam Hamilton with the driver with if he's into Hamilton or something. It's also just basta yung pasada nyo today and talk about life in general, because I mean it's nice. I don't know if people have that culture, because some people are like, oh, stranger danger, but it's like when you go to New York, he's like, hey man, how you doing? Yeah, blah, 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 and that sort of thing. So parang ganun, yung the entire kamusta ka, the simple kamusta ka, kamusta buhay mo. That whole thing, which I'm terrible at online, by the way, because I'm more of a physical person when it comes to talking. So I'm so sorry if I haven't checked in on anyone or something. It's just that I have difficulties with text. And just like I like talking to people more rather than.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. Definitely. Like I don't like chatting too. Like I think my brain gets muffled. One observation I have with the language is how we say I love you. So like in English, it's like the me comes first before loving you. But in Tagalog, when we say mahal kita, love comes first and it addresses the person. So I just that's the beauty of like how we're more connected with the language of love, because I just feel like when we communicate it, love comes first before yourself. And even when we say I love you in Tagalog, like mahal kita, the self is not involved there. You know what I mean?
Diba?
It's like love to you.
This is why I love Spanish. Because if you look at French or what have you, French is like je t'aime or something. It's like I love you. But if you look at Spanish, like te amo, you. Like, because there is two. It's like the second version. Well, Spanish is very Espanol is muy sexista. It's very sexist. Like the pronouns are usually male and what have you.
Yeah, like
but
water, fire has like gender.
Love alone, it's yeah. So it's like te amo. It's like you. I love you. My love is projected towards you because it's you. Basically, it's you person. You. I'm referring to you, but the love is being projected to you. So I think we get that romanticism from our colonizers as well. But at the same time, we have that culture of love among our people as well. The whole
That's awesome. Let's cheers to that, bro. Let's cheers to that.
We just
do you still have alcohol with you?
The whole glass is gone, so I'm gonna go to this one now.
Is that alcoholic? Cheers.
An alpha mix. Cheers, man.
Mahal kita, pare.
Mahal kita, pare. Dude, gustong-gusto ko talaga itong conversations natin. Itong mga pinag-uusapan natin. Especially over alcohol. That's what, see, kultura natin to eh. If people sat down and drank with a beer with one another without throwing bottles and no one singing My Way, everything will go fine.
Yeah, Neil, let's talk about the drinking culture because I think like you
Yeah.
in different countries experience, like you've met more people from all around the world than me, and I would like to know what is your insight about the nuances of how different cultures drink. Maybe you could give me an insight about that because right now I just know how to drink with Pinoys. I think I just feel the vibe. Like if you want to sing, okay, tara, let's sing. But like, how about other people from different cultures that you drank with?
East Asia.
The feel there.
What I absolutely love East Asia, especially like I'm gonna go back to it again because we brought it up in the beginning. Korea. Um, Koreans are like they usually drink as a group and what have you. But at the same time, they pour drinks to each other.
Mm.
They don't let one guy pour his own drink. It's more like and they just pour it to one another, which I think is a beautiful thing. Aside from the fact that they also share their food and what have you, because Korean eating and drinking in general, it's a sharing thing. Like you don't order because in the West it's more like I order for me, I order for me. This is my beer, this is my shit, this is my what have you. But in Korea, if you have a Gatorade in your hand, you'll be surprised when it's because I also studied in an international school in China, what have you. We had lots of Koreans. So you'd be surprised at just how they share drinks with one another. It's like you drink, like in the Philippines, we have that whole laway culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's important in the West that you wouldn't want to share the same bottles or drinks with one another. But one moment I was drinking Gatorade,
Cool.
suddenly the guy next to me takes it and drinks from it as well, and what have you. There's that whole as part of that culture, and what I absolutely love in some especially in Korean culture, is that when they drink, they drink, but then they see one guy drinking, they actually go boom, and then they point their drink towards him. It's just saying you're not drinking alone. I'm here drinking with you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a stranger from a different table and the group's drinking, and you see someone drinking alone, you cheers to him, and he like raises his drink to you. So there's that camaraderie thing going. In the West, it's pretty much as you see it in Hollywood. People go to bars either as a group or on their own. They talk to them. They talk. It's very similar to ours, where you talk to the guy. I think alcohol in general, all over the world, is used as uh, as a lubricant for discussion, whether it be whether it be um whether it be a serious one, just like this one, or like a super saba one, or like gossip or what have you. There's any I think in any civilization, even way back to the Greeks, even way back in the olden times, if you look at pictures and paintings, alcohol is always there when there is a social gathering because it is, as they say, the social lubricant. So I don't think there's not much in a difference. I mean, there's a difference in the ways they drink, like how Japanese people drink sake in like traditional setting and sake in like a casual setting, or like or like I mean, we all have a ways of saying cheers. We all have a way of saying goodbye, young, or something. We all have a ways. Of course, we all have a ways of doing it. But if you look at it overall, it's all about being social with one another. It's all about being. We sit down. We're gonna be drinking. Let's talk. You
Yeah.
know.
I really like how you put it, like it as a social lubricant for discussions. You know what I mean?
Diba? Kasi at the end of the day, you sort of equalize everyone. It's the same way that I love how Trevor Noah sees pooping. Trevor Noah sees pooping like this is our baseline overall. Whatever you are, rich or poor, educated or not, at the end of the day, you take a seat down in the fucking toilet or you squat. If you live in certain parts of the world where toilets are just on the ground, you squat, and you're humbled, that very base person, and you're trying to take the shit. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. In the same way that we're drinking, if you're on the table, you're drinking the same shit. Whether you're rich or you're poor, you're drinking the same shit. You're drinking alcohol. You're drinking something that, on one hand, destroys your body, maybe a couple of bits of your brain cells, but on the other hand, you're loose to the point that you can emphasize with the other person on the table. Like, That's why I don't know if you noticed, but people who share their drama stories, their hugot stories, are like, you that sort of thing. Like, if they talk to you over chat, if they talk to you over the phone about it, there's that whole there's that whole thing where some people might get annoyed, some people might get annoyed. But if you're drinking, if they tell that over, not that person just, I swear, not one person on that table would be that person who's telling a story. He's not going to be the only one crying on his own. Someone on the
Right.
table would just be like hugging him or crying with him or something. There's always that thing. It makes everyone loose and equal on the table.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like about having a shared experience. So like right now, like I kind of see that you're a bit buzzed. I'm fucking buzzed. And I just feel
No,
like
I'm fine.
we have a
I don't have.
shared experience. um, Neil,
Then you've been drinking.
I'm freaking curious. I've been staring at your background. What are your most prized possessions?
Oh shit.
And are you willing to show the audience?
Uh, what do you mean prized possession?
Like your best toys there.
Actually, there's not much in the way of toys because I've actually got some of them go. Let's see. I don't pick favorites. You know,
Oh, I see, I
because
see.
I mean, I wanna because they're all amazing in so many different ways. I don't know.
Which one's
I
your
like
latest and which one's your first? Maybe I'm super curious.
my first is like Bathroom Vanilla Man. My first. Is like
Oh
Bathroom Vanilla.
shit. Okay.
The reason why this collection started happening because when I was a kid, definitely I had a lot of Happy Meal collections when I was a kid and what have you. I was an only child back then before I had siblings, what have you. So of course that came in toys, that came in all of things. And then I went to China for 2 years for high school and what have you. Great experience. Then I came back. 89% of the toys that I had sold off in a garage sale. Like all those old Millennium Falcons, all those biker mice from Mars, all those. Was that the shark? You know the shark cartoon back in the day with Street Sharks. I don't know if you've seen that,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
those things gone. I was livid, even
Really?
though I never played with, even though I never played with them after childhood. But it's like all the ones that I had great memories with as a child, all gone. So when I got my first picture in Disney, I was like, I'm in Disney. I should start rebuilding some of those things that I've lost when I was a kid, because yeah. So I don't have a massive collection. It's not like a whole thing. It's just this one cabinet, but that's about it.
Hmm.
But latest acquisition though is this sorry to the people in the feed. I just put them on display. I don't like play with them. I mean, I'm in that area of Toy Story wherein toys are meant to be unboxed, but I don't play with them. It's just
Got it.
nice to me. You know what I mean? This is my latest acquisition, which is the
Oh, that's
Mathix 4.
Thor.
And I don't know if you see, but the resemblance is so uncanny. It's got a fabric cloak and everything.
Right.
And the best thing about it is that you can change its parts. Like you can take away these things and put lighting in it and what have you.
That's the Stormbreaker, correct?
This is the Stormbreaker. This is the one from Infinity War.
Infinity War. That's Groot's hand or something, correct?
Yeah, Groot's hand or something. So yeah, I
I
mean,
was wondering, are you well versed in the lore of Marvel? I'm just wondering, how can like the Groot's like hand sustain like the powerful might of like the swinging motion of Thor? Like how can it withstand like the steel of the Stormbreaker getting hit towards like strong ass enemies and like the hand of Groot doesn't get destroyed when it's just like Groot is wood?
honestly, I think it has to do with the fact that it was when it was forged together, it was enchanted by when they put it together. But like
Okay, so
the
it's not
enchant,
essentially Groot's like the characteristics of it, but it's like how it was made.
it's not Groot's hand anymore. In the same way that if you look at Thor's hammer, the Uru part, like the Uru part is the hand is the hammer itself, but the handle itself it's made of a different material. So the enchantment just carries overall. I don't want to overthink it. It's like the movie has their own logic to things, but how the producers would say it, the moment that Groot cut it off and it got fused to Thor's hammer, it became part of the hammer, and so it gained that quality to it. But I'm not gonna I'm not going to judge for it. It's a great scene. It was a great scene where Groot, who's been playing all this time, in that moment when he sees Thor dying, what have you, gets spurred into action, and he goes like, this is the first moment where he's not playing on his little tablet at the time. And he goes like, in that moment of self-sacrifice, it just looks cool. And at the same time, from a narrative perspective, you see, oh, Groot's actually put his game down. Groot's actually getting involved, and that's what. And Groot stopped being a teenager at that point and saying, oh shit, things are real now. So
He's stepping up.
That's
Wait.
how I
Mhm.
process that whole thing.
Does Groot have a gender?
He's Groot.
That's pretty much it. That's just a straight answer. He's Groot.
He's, I mean, but in the comics they say he's a king. He's a king. So
King.
that may imply that he's a guy. Maybe, but his species reproduce on their own. So I don't think it's fair to say that there would be a guy or a girl, because trees they can make their own on their own. So
Dope.
I think that's.
Cheers. Let's just.
So I have a question. What got you into this entire using your social media for as a platform to discuss the issues in our society, the issues on mental health, the issues that basically interest you in general? Like could do you like a lot of people usually do it on YouTube or like Facebook live streams and what have you. But you went a complete different route. Instead of like long form video and long form content, you went for the content that has the shortest amount of airtime. It's like people who make essays on Twitter and they have long threads. But Twitter has like 125 character limit or 250. I don't know how big character limit it is now. But what you did, you placed it on Instagram stories, not Instagram TV, Instagram stories. You put it on TikTok, which has like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and done. And but you're like, but no, you're making a discussion there. You have a ridiculous blackboard and all that. It's amazing, and I am so happy at how it has all worked out for you, because I used to do social media. So I used to be in the business of social media. I was managing multiple accounts, what have you. So I know how that whole spectrum goes, and I know what usually would trend. I studied the metrics, and then I see a platform, and it's like, holy shit. It is. Sorry for the cussing. It's just like a
It's all good. It's all good.
I mean, it's past 10 p.m. It's all past 10 p.m. So I think we can. That's why I was just
the kids are asleep.
Not my niece. My niece is up watching Grey's Anatomy with my sister. My brother.
Damn.
So it's like, okay, they're starting her right, but still, it's like, how does that work out?
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge you first for being observant and seeing these tiny nuances of how I do shit differently. And I just want to share that, first of all, I just am super fascinated with the fact that I can appear on your phone for like 20 seconds to 1 minute, depending on how much, like when you decide to skip my content, especially on the stories and shit like that. And I really like it. Like, it's like, I think that's a superpower that people don't take advantage of. Like appearing on people's screens, you know what I mean? Produces you results in the future if you keep on doing it every day. So like, for example, I posted on a story, if you want to do a podcast with me, then that would be great. But I think the reason why like you took the initiative to message me, like, of course, dude, I want to do a podcast with you, is because you've been seeing me doing content like for the past years. And I think it's like an ongoing conversation that I have with people throughout all of my life. So when I post something, it refers to something that we've talked about in the past. So for example, if we talked about like theater and I posted about theater, or I posted about something about Hamilton, it's still an ongoing conversation between me and Neil, you know what I mean? Me and Marty and all that stuff. When you talk about music and songwriting, it's an ongoing conversation between me and Justin and all that stuff. And that's how I feel that it's, number one, it's practical. But secondly, I think that's how I get connected to people, especially when people are busy. At least, you know, when they want to talk to me about something, it feels like nothing has changed because every day I appear on your phone. That's why now that we are having a conversation, it's as if nothing changed. You know what I mean?
I
Because like I'm just consistently there, and then you're consistently seeing me talking to you every day, and yeah. But the third thing that I'd like to say is that if I post like 20 pieces of content on Instagram stories, I get to identify who digs my shit versus the people who would skip it to the next story. So sometimes I
yeah.
make it intentionally boring and intentionally mundane, such that I get to identify
Mhm.
who sticks around for the last story to hear every word that I say. And then those are the people that I prioritize talking to, because that means like, so when I make pieces of content, I make pieces of content specifically to those people who stick around, because my philosophy is that you gotta preach to the choir. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's so hard in social media to convince people who
Yeah,
don't be convinced. And for
yeah.
me, the people who buy my shit eventually becomes fans, becomes like people who spread the word about, hey, check out Bolo Pascual and all that stuff. So that's also part of my strategy in terms of my data analytics. Who sticks around?
Yeah,
And then I look at their
yeah.
profile. Oh, they like these types of things. Oh, they tweeted about that. Then I'll talk about that. And they are the people who are likely to share my content towards other people. They say, oh, I think Bolo Pascual is cool, blah, 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 blah. So it also, that third aspect helps me identify what is my next strategy. And one of the results I've been so delighted with is that people are saying, Bolo, your friend recommended your song to me. Out of no, I like my friend recommended your song to me. They did not know that you're my debate coach. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, know that people, like it would reach through word of mouth, through messages about my TikTok content. And that's what fascinates me a lot. So I think
Talking of
does that answer some of your questions?
does it does. First off, I'm proud of you because it's such a clever strategy and what have you. But on the other end of the spectrum, I do want to ask, like, how are your metrics? You don't have to ballpark numbers, what have you. But has your audience exceeded the number of followers on your Instagram or your TikTok? Has it exceeded that? Like the number of views that you get, like unique views per day, has it exceeded like your follower limit, or has it reached it,
Mm,
or is it like, close to it? How is it so far?
interesting. Um, so I think that my most popular one like got like 300 to 400,000 views, like one piece of content. Um,
Hmm.
right now on TikTok, I'm at 10,500 views,
Okay.
10,500 views, and some would hit like freaking 500 views, and some would go like 15,000, 20,000, 200,000. It just really depends. And the thing with content creating is that you wouldn't know what would go viral or not. And here's
Mhm.
my message to the other content creators or aspiring content creators is that sometimes we judge ourselves so much or try to become so perfectionists that it takes so long for us to put it out there, when like the simplest things that you'd like to share with the world are the ones that go viral or are the ones that provide so much value. And I just think so many of us overjudge ourselves that, oh, this is not good enough, therefore I won't share it, compared to just like, okay, this shit sucks, but I'll just keep on sharing and sharing. And in that like set of things that suck, there's one there that like people find useful or valuable. Here's my thing about production value is that we can't compete against K-pop with production value. You know what I mean? Like K-pop will always have the best production value. But when it comes to people establishing a personal brand, I think what matters more are the actual words that come out of your mouth rather than how HD your camera is. And I think we ought to put more emphasis on what are the thoughts that you want to share? What are the things that you care about that you need to talk about for you to feel that you actually stood for something? And rather than, is my camera nice? Do I have like effects? Is my edits nice? I think we want to prioritize the former than the latter, because I think we underestimate the way we say things. And even if like we don't get to like inspire like hundreds and thousands of people, I think everyone has a potential to talk to a person that doesn't get inspired by mainstream shit. And for me, when someone says like, "Oh my God, I needed to hear that," that is worth more to me than like my post that went viral because it was funny. So sometimes my mindset is about, if I get to make an impact about a person getting to be becoming more self-expressed because that person sees me looking like a fool, and if Bolo is willing to look like a fool and he says stupid shit, what would my very like well thought of idea or my essay that I wrote back in high school can impact towards other people? If Bolo's saying just like, "Hey, you are beautiful," already makes an impact to 2 to 3 people. So I think me showing my mediocrity allows other people to gain confidence, because like, I'm not gonna look more dumb than Bolo. Bolo has done that for me, so I feel like I act like a shield for other people to express themselves better. Because if people will point out who looks the more stupid one, they can always hide behind me, because every day I'm gonna make myself look stupid so that people can say, okay, even if this looks stupid, it's not going to be looking more stupid than Bolo. So I'm fine. I can express myself. I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, man. It actually does make a lot of sense. Like I've struggled with a lot of that over the past few months. That the whole, especially during COVID, where doubt and anxiety just go full ham on you, and it's hard and it's tough to
What
actually
what
stop
makes
at
you
times.
anxious?
So,
I'm curious, Neil.
oh
Like in
man,
this whole social
a lot of
media
things.
game, digital world game.
No, a lot of things make me anxious and doubtful in general because, for one, I'm a performer. It's part of the package where you sit in bed at night and just go, what the hell am I doing in my life? Why am I not doing businesses? Or why am I not doing account management? Why am I not doing those things? Sorry, can you still hear me? Or
Yeah, I can hear you.
did the audio go? Yeah, I thought the audio went down when I moved
Voting
back away
me.
from a little teeny. Okay, hold on. So I think um it's a fact that here's the thing. I've experienced a failure over and over and over. Like I've had to rebuild myself a lot of times over my long career of a lot of restarts. And at some point, especially during COVID, where nothing seems to be going right in a lot of ways, it sort of disheartens you in many ways. That what if it's not entertaining enough? What if I'm not? It's always a question for all performance, and you get this too. What if I'm not good enough?
Mm.
No, I mean, and there's an even deeper meaning to that, wherein you know you're good enough, but the underlying question to that is you take away the good. Am I enough?
Mm.
That which hits a lot harder than because it's one thing to have the talent, it's one thing to be able to go on stage and just go dance and what have you. Totally different ball game. But it's when the self confidence what have you gets hammered in and just chipped away over the years, and then that am I good enough? That you've already answered years ago. I'm good enough. I'm good enough to be in Disney. I'm good enough to be all these things. I'm good enough to be paid for cosplay. That's one thing. But if it's like, for the, am I enough in this field to continue at it? Because every single day more people. There's always people because especially in our line of work in entertainment, it's not just talent game. It's also a looks game. It's also a numbers game and other things. And the only thing that I've got going on, because I don't have a looks thing going on, I don't have connections thing going on. At the end of the day, it's putting in the work. But when you put in so much work over the past God knows how many years, and nothing seems to be hitting you in the right way like it should have. I mean, there were absolutely wonderful moments. But still, at the end of the day, where I am now, you have to start from the ground up all over again.
Mm.
And it's like you feel that, and I'm what 27, and I feel like I'm 27. I feel even though some people say no, you're still young, you're not late in the game, but you've already got that feeling that you're already late in the game. And I think my problem right now is that I don't think it's the right word, but it's like demonize. I've demonized failure. It's become my demon at this point.
Mm.
You know, and I'm getting into that, and I'm even though I've learned the lesson of that we all fail, we are going to continue to fail. There's always getting back up after that failure, after learning
Mm.
from that failure and moving forward and getting the learning experiences. I get that, and I have that, but at the same time, I'm discouraged at the fact that life is about learning from constant failures because all of us have constant failures. But it's sort of like that's why at the end of the day, it's me taking a rest and figuring shit out. Para lumakas yung loob ko
Mm.
because you get beaten down so much that you're like, but then at the end of the day, if you don't move, the train's gonna leave you anyway. So are you
Mhm.
gonna go running after the train, or are you gonna wait for the next train, or are you just gonna go out of the train station and take another route going to where the train is supposed to be?
Mm.
But at that moment, I'm at that moment deciding, should I run after it? Should I go after it? Like, so I had those moments constantly, and it's just like, and I think a lot. I don't know if the viewers relate to this as well. I don't know if you relate to this as well. But there is that.
Well, first of all, I just
That's what brings me
applaud you for
anxiety.
opening up. Like I like that takes some courage to just like be authentic about that. And props to you. Um,
It's alcohol.
yes.
Alcohol helps, guys. This is why it's a social lubricant.
Mhm. Well, I want to share two insights in response.
Yeah.
One quote that has inspired me so much ever since I was a teenager is that it's this quote called like that says, "It's better to live a life full of oh wells than what ifs."
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, that's stuck in my head. That I think
Mhm.
that my success is predicated upon the number of oh wells that I get. So when it comes to love, and like I admit someone, or like I make liga, or like I say I like you to people, like I grade myself based on how many people reject me and say, oh well, because at least I took on the courage. And the oh wells has to be more than the what ifs. So like it's okay to have what ifs, but it has to be lesser than 49%. And the oh wells has to be more than 51%. And so I don't know, that's just like my mechanism to just like keep on trying and keep on getting uncomfortable situations because oh wells will like define me better than the what if. So that's my
That's
first.
why I am where I am right now because I think you and I live along that same path of saying. I think I don't know if we've talked about this before, like the whole what I don't know. Have you had this conversation about what ifs before? I
I'm
feel
not
that
sure,
we've had.
probably.
I'm not sure, probably. I don't know. But yeah, and your second point, sorry, I just see your entire debate. Sorry if I'm interrupting you
Oh, that's
when you're
okay.
on your debate hack, what have
No, no,
you.
I'm like,
I just love
my second point can wait. My second point can wait.
no, go ahead. I
Okay,
just want to
okay.
say
And so my
I
second
love
point
that.
is that like, and I just want to say that I really like your perspective, right? That failures are the stepping stones to the success that we'll receive in the future, right? And that's a generic like thing we hear from motivational videos and all that stuff, right? And I
Yes.
also yeah, and I think that makes sense, and that's also inspiring. And another perspective or a paradigm shift that I would invite people to look at is we fail on things, but we also need to look at who is creating that metric. Is it society that creates that metric? Or for example, in school, yeah, sure, we have failed in like our math test or English test, but these are the people who don't know what the future will look like. And the current education system is predicated back in the Industrial Revolution, where we need to create
Yep.
factories of like competent.
Yep.
So my invitation is that what are the ways that you are going to grade yourself? Because at the end of the day, for the rest of our lives, schools or like talent agencies wouldn't be there in our lives to grade us. At the end, most of the like every day, it's us grading ourselves. So I think it's also important to say that okay, even if schools and like production companies and like talent agencies would grade these things as failures, for yourself, what is an A plus for yourself? So for example, when I was in high school, yeah, I would fucking fail my English, math, and science tests like every quarter. But for me, it's like my grade to myself is that how many important people have I talked to this month? And if I compare that to my other classmates who have like high grades, I still think I'm crushing it because now I'm establishing good connections as a 15-year-old compared to someone who is getting an A plus in every exam and every test. And that's why I wasn't disempowered with failing in school, because I graded myself differently. So if we connect it also to like the social media game, many people are super sad and upset about their performance because they grade themselves based on the number of followers and the number of views that they have. And that's like the generic, like how Facebook wants you to grade yourself because they want attention, they want more eyeballs to your content. But if you want to take a look at, if you want to play the long game, you want to take a look at how do you grade yourself? And the way I grade myself is not based on the number of followers I get per day or not the number of views. I grade myself based on, did I like what I made today? Was I happy about myself? Did I share more of me to the audience? Because sometimes I can have like 100,000 followers and shit like that by regurgitating law provisions, which like a lot of Filipinos actually love. Like, what are the four requisites to have a valid warrant of arrest? And I did that, and I got like 1,000 followers because of that. But when I reflected, like, no, this is not me. Like, I'm more of like comedy and social issues rather than like academic regurgitating facts, whatever. And for me, that's the reason why I feel like I'm happy, because like I grade myself based on what is important to me rather than what is important to multinational corporations or what is important to the mainstream. So those are the things that I would invite you to look at when it comes to performing, and also like the digital social media game, is find metrics that make you happy and what are grades worthy of who you are rather than grades that are imposed by society, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, it's about doing something that makes you happy. And this is why I am where I am now. But I think also on that advice, I think we have to predicate. I have to predicate this and tell this to viewers, because that's a very sometimes making your own standards, or making or just being content in just doing what you want. It has to be predicated by the fact that it has to be tempered, because it's a slippery slope. We're saying because it can be a slippery slope that can be driven by ego, to saying, oh, it's fine to not do well pala in school. I just have to be happy with my work. I'm just happy just to make tambay with my friends. I think we also have to say that to whoever of the young audiences, to you guys, like, it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with you saying grades are not end all be all, but at the same time, um, temper, not really, make it reasonable, make your standards reasonable, and not saying you just do whatever the heck you want, because that can also be, that can end up being an egoistical standard, to saying, wala akong paki sa mga ideas nyo kasi ito yung gusto kong gawin. This is what makes me happy. That's the thing. Like, we need to, I think there's a way that we can phrase that so as to, that's what I love the fact when you said, it should be the things that make you happy, yet at the same time helps you reach your goals at the end of the day. Like, I think that's how it should be. Like, these are my goals, and these are the goals that make me happy. This is what I want to achieve, rather than these are the metrics. I'm not gonna follow the metrics because I don't want to put in the work for that sort of metrics or what have you.
Yeah, so, I'd like to add to that. I think it's also about, you gotta make sure that you're self-aware, that you're not like jacking off your own ego. So I think it also has to be coming from, what am I gonna grade myself of, like based on, but what also provides other people value. So for example, me, my grades would be, okay, I'm gonna do myself, like I'm gonna express myself, but another grade that another measure I'm adding is, how many people do I get to inspire for them to express themselves? So for example, in 1 month, like I get like 3 people saying, oh, because of you, I started my own YouTube account. Because of you, I started putting my thoughts in a blog. And for me, because I understand that that has made an impact that transcended myself and contributed towards other people, I think that's the balancing mechanism. Like, what makes you happy? So like what uplifts other people, such that you create communities of support towards the journey. Because so you're going to receive a lot of hate. You're going to receive a lot of unfair feedback and all that stuff. So I think it's really important that there are people that you are still choosing to serve. And I think it's important to identify, if I were to serve people, who would it be? And for me right now, I think the people that I'd like to serve are the people who judge themselves too much. There. So that's practically. Holy moly, Justin! It's already Saturday. It's 12:01. Wow.
Okay, Saturday. There we go. Hello, Saturday. Well, yeah. This has been fantastic. See,
Um,
social lubricant once again. Going on,
crazy.
man.
Well, I'm down to my last sip. You wanna down this, brother?
Actually, I have more in my bottle. I have more in my bottle, so I'm just gonna pour it all onto
Or
this
you
glass.
wanna down it in front of cam?
Yeah, I'm gonna down. Yeah, I'm gonna down this whole thing
All
in
right.
front of
Cheers, brother.
the camera. Yeah,
All right.
yes, man. That's a lot. That's strong.
Okay, Justin. Oh, so yeah. Finish that first. Finish that first. Take your
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Finish that. No. I want you, because I want you to have the last word, or the last words. So I want
Yeah.
you to down it,
Wait.
and I'm gonna ask you a final
This is
question.
a lot of soju because usually soju. Okay.
Okay, fine. Take your last sip. Crazy. Okay, that's enough. Okay, Justin.
Hmm.
Neil. Sorry, I get confused. I use two of your names, Neil, Justin, Santiago.
Yeah, I know. Justin is the other good-looking guy.
Yeah.
He's the cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the last question. I want you to have the last word, but I want
Oh no.
you to plug where we can find you on social media, where we can find your writings, your blogs, and whatever. But so include that. But I want to ask you, what is the
Mhm.
message that you would like to say tell to the younger generation? If you were to tell something to the younger generation, what would it be, and where can we find you more? And that could be the conclusion of our podcast.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, I think I just want to circle back to what I said in the beginning about bridging bridges with people who don't understand us or we don't have common ground with. Because at the end of the day, it's respect. Because it's not about getting respect. Because at the end of the day, it's giving respect. Because when you give respect over people to their opinions, to their lifestyles, what have you, they in turn would acknowledge you and give you the respect that you want. If you're hungry for respect, give respect. If you
Mm.
just want to be respectful of other people, continue doing that. If you want to make the world a better place, just respect other people. Just respect other people's views and what have you. Because just listen, respect and listen. Because once you have respect, once you give respect, everything else, I believe, will totally follow.
Mm.
And as for where you can find me, I am on. Well, I don't really actually so much on my Facebook, but I will have. But I do have an Instagram account called Neil Just07. It's got. I mean, I don't update it that much these days, but it does have some photos of my cosplay. So it has updates on what I buy, what I do, where I go. But at the same time, it'll be my main social media page right before I start setting up this. I've got a Twitch page and Facebook page up. I haven't fully kitted it out yet, banners and everything, because I'm still working on that. But look out for Neil Just Plays. That's NeilJustPlays. Neil Just Plays. I'll be streaming video games soon, as well as doing content. Content that makes me happy, as per the metric that we just established right here, right now. And if you have anything that you want to geek out on, anything that you just want to talk about or what have you, my DMs are open, so slide the DMs around here. And no promise that I'll be able to get on it right away because social media is a big place. But at the same time, thank you for having me, Bolo. You have been absolutely wonderful. And just to have a little side note to your metrics and what have you, I think the reason why you have been absolutely successful and why I think you think that because you add value to other people's lives, but at the same time, those short, I think the messages that Polo has been giving out on social media, all these Instagram stories, the fact that we have this rule in social media wherein if you don't get the audience's attention within the first 10 seconds, you've lost them already as they scroll through Facebook. So on your end, the moment that people start hearing you say what you think within the first 10 seconds, within that short, brief time span of an Instagram story, you've already got them, and that's why you got me and a bunch of other people following it over and over again. So if you run across into Bolo's content on your Facebooks, on your Instagrams, on your TikToks, and what have you, do stay longer than those 10 seconds, because they will be among the most meaningful and the most worthy points of discussion that you will absorb within your life. They may not be much. They may not contribute much to knowledge that you may know already. Some of these we may already know, but sometimes it's nice to just hear the same lessons, hear the same words that you've already told yourself over the years. In the same way that Bolo has repeatedly told me, it's about the oh well, it's not the what ifs. As long as you keep forging forward with that in mind, I think if you have that attitude of just keep trying it out and just sticking longer than those 10 seconds, then I think your life will be a lot more richer than it actually was before you slid into those 10 seconds in Bolo speed. So thank you so much, Bolo.
That is awesome. I feel so acknowledged. I feel so loved. I just want to say, Neil, I respect you. I love you. I think you are amazing. And that is the show. See you all next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. And if we did not make any sense, we're not going to blame it on the half-call, because this has been as honest and as truthful as it can be. So thank you so much. I'm going to finish that drink. Okay.
Okay. Sai Chen.
Again.